Well, hey everybody, Chris DeFirio here with Keys to the Shop, and welcome to another episode of Shift Break. Now, today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco, and they've been making espresso machines there since 1927 in Florence, Italy, all by hand with intention, attention to detail, functionality, innovation, and beauty, and just the kind of machine that lasts for ages. La Marzocco has been a household name in espresso for quite a long time because of this. I know I grew up using La Marzocco, not as a person, not as a baby, but as a barista. I grew up in the industry using their machines, and I love them. Love them today, love them then, and I think you will too. So go to lamarzocco.usa.com. You can also go to their email and reach out to one of their sales folks. It is info@lamarzocco.usa.com. And they're really great people and make a great product. Honestly, it's really simple. It's a lot more simple than you think. And if you want the best bang for your buck and also something that's going to grow with you in your business, it's got to be a La Marzocco espresso machine. So check them out, lamarzocco.usa.com. Now, we're also sponsored today by our friends at Rattleware. Rattleware.com is the place to go to learn about all the smallwares that they offer. Smallwares that you've probably used. Smallwares that you don't even realize it's made by Rattleware, but it's probably your favorite thing. Or if you really thought about it that much, you would say, this has always worked really well. Who makes this? You got to look underneath it and you say, who makes this? It's probably Rattleware. The RW says it all on the bottom of a pitcher, but they make all sorts of smallwares for coffee shops that just need the smallwares to work, and that's their passion, is to just support with smallwares cafes doing great work like yours. So go to rattleware.com and check them out today. Now, today's episode is all about what's next in coffee, the future of coffee, what's next in coffee, what wave are we in, what phase, what movement, and all this other stuff. The epoch of coffee that we're in now. We don't actually know where we are in coffee now. We know where we've been, but kind of can't even conceive of that because some of us weren't even around when that happened, and the reasons why people made the decisions that they made in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so forth about coffee and the industry of coffee was largely based on a conversation around what needed to happen at that moment. And as people make decisions about what happens in that moment, they create what we look back on as a movement. You don't create movements on purpose, so to speak. We're not saying, well, we're going to usher in the fourth wave, because people that did the third wave weren't even thinking about waves. We didn't have something to call it, and we distract ourselves by thinking about ourselves too much. We're sort of navel gazing as a community too much, and we can't get anywhere. We start tripping up because we're not looking at where we're going or why we're going there. We're just looking at trying to craft a good reputation for ourselves looking back. So, and that's not necessarily wrong to want to do good work so that you can be proud looking back of what you did. But if we're too obsessed with the future of coffee or let's say what's next in coffee because we want to be there and we want to sort of know that we are part of the in crowd of what's innovative and next in coffee, then it really is more about serving our ego at that point. And it's not so much about serving people. And what we create won't be nearly as effective because we're really just creating it for ourselves rather than, let's take the third wave, for example. That wasn't a time in coffee that was created to create a time in coffee. It was just a genuine phase of coffee that organically started as a response to a ton of different factors in the industry. New generations of coffee professionals wanting to explore, having more access to information via the internet was a huge thing. These are different variables and outliers that you don't normally think about when it comes to how something happened, but we didn't sit in a room and say, you know what, we're going to form a new movement in coffee. It was just something that happened. And I think that that's part of the staying power of a movement, is that it happens somewhat organically through the individual efforts of people concerned with a common goal that they've personally bought into. They haven't said, hey, there's a movement happening and I want to be a part of it, and it's called this, and here's the rules. They didn't read an article about this on Perfect Daily Grind or on LinkedIn or something like that and say, well, I want to be a part of that movement too. So how do I join? What is next in coffee is up to us to create by serving what we have in front of us right now as best we can. That's true innovation, not innovation for innovation's sake. It's if I want to serve my customers better in my coffee shop, I'm going to start, for example, focusing on hospitality above all things, because I've become convicted about this idea and I'm truly passionate about it, and I want to do. And so we're gonna put our baristas through training on communication. We're gonna front load our onboarding with hospitality, and we're gonna have upskilling and skill building throughout the year. And the creation of a system to support a value in an individual cafe multiplied times 1,000 or 1,000,000 different examples creates a movement. But it's effective because it was born from wanting to be responsible for the cafe that you have, the business that you have now, the people that you employ, their lives, the lives of your customers, the life of your family that depends on your business. And that's really what's next in coffee, I think, happens to be based on how well we handle what we have now in coffee. It's not about living in the future and ignoring the present and always thinking about what's next. That's a distracting question. It's a question that is designed to get clicks, but it's not a very effective question. The question that I think our mindset really should be about what's right in front of us, and as effectively as possible, do as much good as possible for as many people as possible, starting from the inside and working out, and build robust systems that can verify we are actually delivering on that. The future will take care of itself if we do that. But if all we're doing is living into this idea of what's next, to me, it seems like what we're doing is ignoring what we need to be doing right now. There's plenty of issues that we need to be focusing on when it comes to our staff. How bad most communication is in the coffee shop, how bad quality control can be in a coffee shop, the unmitigated pursuit of scaling and hustle that creates burnout and mile-wide, inch-deep coffee companies. There's a lot of issues right now that have, I think, become issues because we ask ourselves and live in the future-focused questions, and as a result, ignore the present, when in fact, the way to secure the sustainability of our business tomorrow is to secure the effectiveness of our business today. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I hope that this was helpful. Just something to think about, okay? It's a lot simpler to run coffee shops than we think. If you ask marketers, it's way more complicated than you have the ability to manage, and that's why they're there, to save you from it. Yeah, I don't buy it. I think it is difficult, for sure, but it's not nearly as complex as people make it seem. So let's pursue this. Let's pursue the stewardship of the present. Let's try to simplify things and focus on the delivering of excellence in the basics and the foundational elements of our business as the needs are presented to us today. And tomorrow, you're going to look back and say, I'm glad I made that decision. And look what it built. Look what kind of future it built. You're going to live into that and look back and say, that was a great thing to focus on. So anyway, I hope that helps, and I will see you here next time for another edition of Shift Break, from keys to the shop.